today I want to show you how to make this sock on the Addi Express 22 pin. So you're going to need 8 stitch markers, a yarn needle. I like to use a loom pick and a crochet hook for the ribbing. You can use the latch hook, but I find when you get down to the base it gets really tight and then it gets hard to use this, so I find it easier to use the crochet hook and some scissors. And you will need some waste yarn, the same thickness as your sock yarn, which I'm just using a medium weight, and I'm using Red Heart comfort yarn, and the color is cream. So this is the sock. All right, well, let's get started. Okay, so we want to start with some waste yarn, and you want to make the waste yarn a contrasting color from your main sock yarn so you can easily see the stitches. Oops. So to start, we're just going to start on the first black pin. I'm going to go around the first one, behind the second one, and in front of the third one. And just go back and forth like this all the way around. Okay, so then behind this white one and bring it into your yarn holder. Just make sure I kind of hold that tail down. There. And then you want to do 6 rows of waste yarn. So you can cut your waste yarn and put it into the center. And then put your main sock yarn in. Reset your row counter. And we're going to do 10 rows with your main sock color. So once you get you're done your 10 rows, you want to, so we're going to do a hung hem. So to do this, oops, I've already gone too far. I'm just gonna ease off a little. So we want to find our first stitch where the tail is. So this is your first stitch, so you're gonna be hanging that over this first pin, the first black pin. And you want to make sure that goes down below, like in front of these little red teeth. And then just as this one's coming up, I'm going to grab your next one. So you want to follow the waste yarn, and the waste yarn is going into the stitch. That's the stitch you want. Pull it over that needle and make sure it stays in front of these red teeth. So just knock it down and do that all the way around. So this one is just coming up, so you want to follow this waste yarn. This is your next stitch. Just want to crank until this comes up a little bit, and then you want to follow. This is the waste yarn going into this next stitch. So that's your next stitch right there. So you want to pick that up and then put it over this next needle. And then slowly crank and make sure this goes down. Make sure both loops now are in front of that the red little teeth. Down and in front. Okay, so now this one's coming up. This is our next stitch. Just hang that. So it is going to ride up, so you just want to push it down as you crank. So this is your next one. So you want to follow this waist yarn in. So these stitches can get really tight as we go. That's why it's a good idea just to follow the waist yarn to see where your next stitch is. Oops. I'm gonna hang that over. And make sure it sits down in front of these red teeth as you go. This is your next one. So just do that all the way back to the beginning until you have all of the stitches hung. Okay, so this last stitch can be a little tricky to find where it is, but this waist yarn is going into it. So you just want to follow the waist yarn and go in. That's where your stitch is. This last one over. A little tight. That down. Okay. Okay, so now we've hung all of the stitches. You can make your the leg of your sock as long as you want. So I'm gonna do mine 35 rows. So this, I'm doing the ribbing all the way down till I start the heel. So that's 35 rows. So you can make it as long or short as you want. So once you get your leg the length that you want, I will show you how to do the ribbing. So we're going to take the loom pick. And so I'm going to start on number 2. So you just want to watch this. So it just comes up enough so you can pick it off. And then I'm going to back it off a little bit, just so the needle goes down a bit. You don't want to back it off too much because you can mess up these stitches over here. You just want to pick this off and over. So this is off. And then you want to follow the stitch up. So that's where you start letting it unravel. So you want to follow this up. And this is where I want to stop, like right where the hanged hem is. So where there's these 2 loops. So I'm just going to stick my crochet hook in there so we don't unravel further, like past that point. And then you can just start unraveling it. So the longer you go, it is a little harder to unravel, but you just have to go through and pick it. So once you have it all unraveled, so you want to take your hook and you're going to be grabbing that, and I just like to lift the loop on the hook a little bit so it's easier to pull that through. So you go to the next one, pull it through, and you're going in this motion all the way down. You want to make sure you get every single leg. Alright, so once you get all the way down to the bottom, you want to put this back over your hook. And you want to make sure that this stays down over the red teeth. So make sure it stays, like the loop stays down in front of these little red teeth. And it'll look like that, so you'll have like the knit stitch. Right, so we're going to do that every second one. So we're going to skip this next one. So we're skipping this one and we're going to be going on here, on this one. So you just want it to rise just enough so you can get the loop off. And then I back it off just a little bit to make this pin go down. Pull it off. And then you can just pull them apart. Make sure you put your crochet hook in where you want to stop it from fraying. So like right here, I like to go right before the hem. So make sure you put that in just so you don't unravel all of it. Okay. And flip your crochet hook around. And put that back on, making sure it goes right down in front of those red teeth. Continue that all the way around, and I will see you back at number 1 to start the heel. Okay, so once you're done all the ribbing and you've checked to make sure that everything is good, like you didn't miss any of the ladders or any of the stitches, we can start working on the heel. But before we do that, we're going to put on 6 or 7 rows of waste yarn. So this way, if you mess up on the heel, we can just go back to the waste yarn. We don't have to worry about trying to pick up the stitches. If you're doing your heel the same color as your sock, don't cut your yarn. Just put it in the middle. And make sure, so I didn't have those ones down, but make sure it goes behind this last white peg. So I'm going to do 6 or 7 rows of waste yarn. And so with this, you can just roll it down. Kind of like a donut. So once you've finished your 6 to 7 rows of waste yarn, you want to cut your waste yarn, close your yarn holder, and put your waste yarn in the middle. And then we're just going to do 2 rounds with no yarn in there to take this off of the machine. Okay. So now that should have came off your machine. So now you want to keep it at the beginning. Okay, so put your yarn that you want to use for your heel into the yarn holder. So I'm just using the same color. So I'm just going to put that back in. And now we want to rehang. We're going to be working on 13 stitches for the heel, but we're only going to hang 12 stitches on here, and I'll show you why when it comes around. So you want to find the spot, so like where your waste yarn is coming out. So this is your stitch that you want to hang right there. This is the first one. So we're going to put that on our first pin. Make sure my yarn goes in front of this. Okay, so you want to just grab that stitch and put it on the first peg. And you want to keep that down in front of the red teeth, like in these. You want to keep the loop right down here, okay? Because we want that to start knitting. So then on your second one, so you're going to grab this, the second one, and to find your stitches, you want to follow the waste yarn into the next stitch. So follow your waste yarn here into this next stitch right here. Put that on the second, oops, put that on the second pin. Okay, and now the third one. If you're ever not sure, follow your waste yarn and it'll go right into the next stitch. And then just make sure that they are staying down in front of those, around these red teeth. So that's 3. So now this is the 4th one. See, now it'll start to twist a bit. So you just want to make sure you're grabbing that bottom loop. And if you're ever not sure, follow your waste yarn into the next stitch. So that's 4, so this one's 5. See how it's starting to twist? Make sure you're grabbing that bottom one. This is 6. There we go. This one's 7. So now it's really tricky because it's really starting to twist. So you just follow your waste yarn. There it is, right there. And that's the 7th stitch. And make sure it stays down in front of these. Right there. So that's, what are we on? 7, so this is 8. And if you kind of push it down underneath this red hump, it'll make it a little easier. And this is 9. Oop, this is 10. $11. And 12. This is the last one we're hanging. So that's it right there. Okay, so then you want to go until this one knits and hold a little tension on your yarn. So you're just going to go past until this yarn goes underneath this red hump. There we go. And then turn back. Okay, so now we're just going to stretch this wrap out and grab your stitch marker, and from the back of this going towards the left, you want to put your stitch marker on the wrap first, and then we're going to grab that 13th stitch, so the next stitch. So if you can't find it, so follow your waste yarn in, so this is it right here. So grab that, and then from the back of that raw stitch, put that on your stitch marker and close that up. And then you just want to make this needle go down a little bit more, sink it down, and then you're going to kind of pull this a little tighter because you want the wrap to be a little tight. You don't want it to be too tight though, because you want to be able to get this wrap back on. You want to be able to get this wrap back on this stitch on the next round, like when we come back around. So you just kind of want to pull it till it lines up, like right here. Just pull that a little tight. And it is good to be snug because then there won't be any gaps in your sock. So yeah, I just pull it till this kind of lines up in front of the peg. Okay. Now we can go back around. Okay, so this is the next one we're going to be taking off. So we want this one to knit, so we're just going to go past this one until the yarn goes underneath here. So hold it a little snug. There we go. And come back. Okay, so you want this to go down a little bit so we can take this stitch off. So take your stitch marker. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. Pull this wrap out. Put your stitch marker in from behind, going to the right this time. Pick this stitch off and put it on. And close up your stitch marker. And then sink this needle down. There we go. Then you want to resize the wrap. So just pull the yarn a little bit snug so it's in line with this peg right here. So a little bit more. So there we go. Okay, so then this is the next one we're going to be taking off. So we're going to make this one knit. We're going to go a little past this one to make this stitch knit. There. And then come back. Oops, I went a little too far. So you want to pull this wrap out. Get your stitch marker, come in from behind, going to the left, and then take this stitch off and go put it on your stitch marker, and then pull it snug to size it. So it's like, so it's right in front of here. Okay, so this is the one we're going to be taking off next. So we're going to go just past this one to make that one knit. Hold it a little snug. There we go. Went underneath here. Go back. And then pull this wrap out. Put it on your yarn needle. Take this stitch off and put it on your yarn needle from behind. Close it up and resize this wrap by pulling your yarn. Okay. Now this one we're taking off, so we're just going to go past this one. Okay. Grab this yarn. Put it on your stitch marker to the left, from the back to the left. Take this live stitch off, put it in front, close your yarn, your stitch marker, and pull your yarn to tighten that wrap. Okay, so this one we're taking off next. So we're going to let this one stitch. Hold your yarn a little snug. There we go. Okay, so pull this out. Get your stitch marker from behind. Put it on. Take this stitch off and put it on from behind. Close your stitch marker and then pull it tight. Okay, so this one's coming off next. So pull this out, get your stitch marker, going from behind, and then take this stitch off. Close your stitch marker and then resize that yarn. Okay, so this is what we're taking off next. There we go. Pull this out. Get your stitch marker. Take this stitch off, put it on, close your stitch marker off, and tighten that yarn. Okay. So now that's the last that we're taking off. So now we're going to start adding them back on. Oops. Okay. went a little too far. So we want this, we want to be watching this stitch right here, or pin right here. We don't want it to come up too high. So you want to open your stitch marker. So we're going to come in from the back of the stitch, take it off, and then put it back on here, making sure it goes down below, like right in front on the bottom, the base of these red teeth. And then take the wrap, and I like to use my crochet hook and the loom pick just to kind of stretch it a little. And then, oops, you want to pull it over top, oops, of this needle, which it can be a little tight. Okay, so there we go. We just want to make sure that this does not ride up. So we want to go just past this new stitch that we put on, making sure that it stays down, and let it knit. Okay, and then when you come back around, you just want to put a little tension on the yarn. There we go. Whoops. Okay, so you want to be watching. So this is the next one that we're going to be putting on. So I went a little too far. You just want to watch these stitches because they'll come up and then you'll have a dropped stitch. So I'm going to come in from behind and place this this stitch on first. And then grab the wrap. I like to put my crochet hook in here and then kind of push down with my loom pick, because it can be, oops, a little tight. So then put that over. Over the teeth. Okay. So then just want to make sure that stays over these teeth so you can knit. Okay, so just go past that stitch. There we go. And hold some tension. There. Okay, so now we're watching this one. This is where we're going to be putting the stitch on. So just come up a little bit. So I'm going to grab that live stitch first from the back. Put it over here. And then grab the wrap. Putting a little tension on there. Okay, so now we're watching this one. This is where we're going to be putting our next stitch back on. And you might need to keep on pushing down the sides because they may be tight and ride up. Okay, so this is the next one. So grab that first stitch first from the back. Oops. And then grab your wrap from behind. Just give it a little stretch. Fit that over. Make sure it doesn't ride up. And then just go past. There we go. Keeping a little tension there. Okay, so this is the next one. Put the live stitch on first. Sometimes I use my little yarn needle. Okay, so this is the last one on this side. So take the live stitch off first. And then grab your wrap. And this one, sometimes you may want to, so you may want to grab one of the bars. Let's see. Like, so you don't want to grab one of these stitches because that'll just make a bigger hole. But one of the ones that are in between, like that, like one of the bars. So I'm just going to put that on. So up and over. Oops. Okay, I'm going to keep that on and bring that up so then you don't have a gap in your heel. There. So this may be tight. You just want to make sure that stays down. There we go. Okay, so this is the last one that we need to hang. Okay, and then the same thing on this side. You just want to find this little bar, so this one that's in between the big kind of smile stitches. You want to find a smaller one and hang that just so you don't have a big gap on the side of your heel. Okay. Make sure that stays down as you come to knit it. There. So now once you've finished the heel, go back around to this point, and then we're going to start rehanging the rest of the sock stitches so we can move on to the foot. Okay, so you just want to watch for this 14th peg to come up a little bit, making sure that this 13th stitch stays down because it might be a little tight, so it may ride up. Okay. So then, to find your stitch, this is the stitch right here, but we just want to follow, if you can't find it, follow your waste yarn into the next stitch. So this is it. So rehang that, and making sure that the stitch goes right down to the base in front of these red teeth. Okay, so here's your next one. And to make it easier, so this is 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So this will be our last stitch. I'm just going to put a stitch marker in there just so I know, because it's going to get tight near the end. So that'll just help you find your last stitch. And if you are having trouble finding your stitch, just follow this waste yarn into the next stitch. And here's our last stitch. Take the stitch marker out. All right, so now you can reset your stitch counter. So I'm gonna go for 30 rows on my foot. I have a size 10 foot. Yeah, so I'm gonna do 30 rows and then the toe. This is a sock, so this is what we're doing here. And so you gotta watch this, it's still gonna ride up. Just keep on rolling your sock into a donut. Okay, so you want to get some more waste yarn. So I'm keeping my white yarn on, and then I'm just going to put my waste yarn on. And do 6 or 7 rows of waste yarn. Okay, so then you can cut your waste yarn. close your yarn holder. And then you just want to take it off. So we're going to be putting it back on, but for the toe we're only going to be doing 11 stitches. So we don't want to do the first one. We're going to start on the second one and the second pin. So this is your last one. So I'm just going to put my yarn into the yarn holder. We're going to put on 10 stitches. So we're going to start not with the first stitch, but we're going to start with the second stitch. You just want to grab the second stitch and put it onto the second pin. Make sure your yarn goes around this one. We don't want it to catch on the first pin. So go until this just starts to come up, and then put the third stitch on. But it's our second stitch. So pull a little tension. You want it a little tighter when it starts to knit. Okay, so put your fourth stitch on. Fifth. Sixth. Seventh. Eighth. Ninth. Make sure they're all staying down in front of the red teeth. And this is the 10th stitch. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you're going to need your stitch markers, but you're only going to need 6. So now we're going to go past this one, so this one knits. So just go past until this goes underneath this red bump. There we go. And then just go back until there. And you're going to pull this out. And you're going to put your stitch marker facing to the left. Grab the wrap. And then you want to grab this stitch. This is the 11th stitch. And going from the back, the right to the left. And then close that. Oops. And then go until this is just down a little bit. And then we're going to tighten that wrap a bit. Not too tight. Just like we did for the heel. Just so it's in front there so we can grab it and put it over when we come back. Okay, so we want to stop. This is the last stitch that we're going to make knit. So just go until the yarn goes down under this red hump. There we go. And come back. Then you want to pull this out. Get your stitch marker going to the right from the back. Go in there and then pick this stitch off and go through. Close it and then tighten up your your wrap. Okay, here we go. And go back. Okay, so this is the last stitch we're gonna knit, and we're gonna take this one off. So just go past this stitch. There we go. Come back. You want to pull this wrap out. Get your stitch marker. Going to the left. Go in behind. Take that, and then pick this stitch off. And go in from behind the stitch. Close it. And then you want to bring this one down, tighten up your wrap. There we go. So this is a stitch we're going to be taking off. There we go. So pull the wrap out. Your stitch marker, go in from behind, take this stitch off, put it on the stitch marker, close it, and then tighten that wrap. There we go. And this is the stitch we're going to be taking off. Pull your wrap out, grab your stitch marker, take this stitch off, tighten up that loop. This one we're taking off. Tighten that loop up. Okay, so you don't want this one to come up too far because we're going to be putting this back on now. So first put the live stitch on. So put the live stitch on. And then put the wrap on. I'm going to come in from behind both of them. Okay, so it might be a little tight, but that's okay. Hopefully it's not too tight, and if it is too tight, then that's why we have the waste yarn, so we can rip that out safely and go back to the safety of our waste yarn. Okay, so once you got that on there, make sure it's down in front of these red teeth and keep it down there. You want to make that one knit. So just go until, yep, it goes underneath that red one. And when you come back, make sure that stays down. And put a little tension on just to tighten that up there. Okay, so now this is the one that we're going to be putting that stitch onto. So come in from behind the stitch. Put the live stitch on first. And then the wrapped stitch. Make that one knit and then come back. Okay, so now we're going to be putting this stitch on here. Kind of just pull it a bit just to get some more length. And I find it easier to use the crochet hook and my loom pick. Okay, so then you want to knit this stitch. Okay, so this is the next one that we're putting on. So come in from behind, grab that stitch off, put it on, grab the wrap. Put that on, make sure it goes in front of the red teeth, and knit, make it knit. Okay, so this is the last one on this side that we're putting on. Okay, so this is the last one. So now that's the toe is done. And now we want to put some more waste yarn just on here. So we'll go back and forth with some waste yarn. So we can cut our yarn, but we want to leave a bit of a tail so we can do the Kitchener stitch and sew the toe. So leave a good tail. Okay, so now do 6 or 7 rows back and forth of waste yarn. Ooh. This one, you gotta watch on the ends. They might ride up like that and then it won't knit. Oops, see, it went too far. Got distracted. Okay, so we don't want it to not knit on that one. I want it to knit on this one. So then you can just take your waste yarn out, cut it, and then close your yarn holder, and then just do 2 cranks that way, and then back to take your work off your machine. I'll show you how to Kitchener stitch the toe together. Okay, so you want to start by turning your sock inside out. So we have the purl side showing. And then you want to take 4 stitch markers. And we're just going to find the last stitch on this side and the last stitch on this side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so put stitch marker through this last stitch and through this first stitch here. And then the same thing on this side. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 11 will be underneath there. So this is the first one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so you kind of want to tuck your waist yarn in. Kind of like this, so that we can see all the stitches. And you want to thread your yarn needle. There's going to be a little gap in here, so we want to pick up one of these bars. So we want to pick up a bar. So this is like the bar in between here. We don't want to pick up one of these because that'll just cause a bigger hole. So it's this one of the bars. So I'm actually going to pick up one of this one here. So not one of these stitches. We want the bar. Okay, so I'm going to go down through this bar. Okay, so you want to pull tight, but not too tight, but pretty firm. You don't want it to pucker, but it needs to be pretty firm. So once you come down through here, then you're going to go up through this stitch on your first stitch marker. And we're also going to go back up through this bar that we went down. Okay, so we can remove this stitch marker now. Okay, so we're going to go down through this top stitch and then down through the stitch that we're going to go down through this top stitch and then down back through the stitch that we just went through. And now you can remove this top stitch marker. Okay, so now we're going to come up through this next stitch and then back up through the stitch that we just came down through. So we're always going to go back up through the stitch that we just came out of. So now we're going to trace the waist yarn and come down through the next stitch and down through the stitch that we just came up through. Okay, so then we trace the waist yarn here, go up through this one and back up through the one that we came down. Okay, so then trace the yarn, come down through this one and down through the one that we just came up. And then trace over to this one and then up through the one that we came down. And then over, down this one, and then through the one that we came up. and then go over through the next one and back up through that one. And trace over to this next stitch and back through that same stitch down here. Follow over to the next one and back up through that top one. And trace over to the next one and through down there. Okay, so now we're at the last stitch. Okay, so you can remove this stitch marker. Okay, so then you can go back, so down through the top one, you can remove that stitch marker. Oops. And then down through this last stitch. So then we want to find our sidebar. So you want to use one of these. It's a little tricky. Okay, so here's our stitches. So I am going to use this one. So you don't want to use one of these big ones because it'll just make a bigger hole. You want to use like one of these sidebars. So I'm going to go in right there. So go up. And then through that top stitch. Whoops. There you go. Okay, and then go back down through that little side bar. Oops. I don't think that was on this screen. So go back through that little side bar. And then you can weave this in. So we want to flip it around and make sure that it looks all good, that we got all the stitches. Okay. So that's where we Kitchenered. You can take off our waste yarn. Okay. There. So that's where we Kitchenered, right there. So that's why you don't want to pull it too tight, because you don't want to have a little ridge. It's pretty good. So that's what it looks like. So then you can just fold it inside out and then tuck in or weave in the end. And then, so to take off this waste yarn at the top, because we started with it, you need to go around the first, just the first row, pulling that first strand out. And then you'll be able to pull it out like normal. So just the first round, go through and pull that first strand out. And then you'll be able to pull it out just like normal. Here we go. All right, so once you've unraveled all your waste yarn, this is what the sock looks like. I hope you liked this tutorial. So if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel for more videos and tutorials like this. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.